Hello students, today we will discuss in this lecture the remaining four layers of the OSI reference model. So one by one we will discuss all the responsibilities of these four layers. The layers are transport layer, session layer and presentation and application layer. So upper three layers belongs to the category of user supported layers. So one by one we will discuss. Now the responsibilities of the transport layers are data delivery, means delivery of the message from one process to another process, segmentation and assembly, connection control, flow control, error control and congestion control. So in this figure we can see, this figure shows the relationship of the transport layer with the session layer and the network layer. The data is coming from the session layer is received at the transport layer, and after adding its header information, it is forwarded to the network layer. So why we are calling here the responsibility of the transport layer is process to process delivery of the data, which can be better understood by this diagram. Here you can see two systems, both are connected to the internet, and each process are in each system there are three processes are running. So how one process in a system communicates to other process in the other system, this is governed by the transport layer. That's why we are calling this a process to process delivery of the message. Whereas in the network layer you can see this is responsible for host to host delivery of the message. Now coming back to the other responsibilities of the transport layer are segmentation and reassembly of the message. So messages at the transport layer, message is divided into transmittable segments and each segment is assigned a sequence number. So this sequence number enables the transport layer to reassemble the message at the receiver side. So basically we can understood that when our data from the session layer will be received at the transport layer, the entire data will be divided into small chunks known as segments, and each segments will be assigned a sequence number. So based on these segments at the receiver side, the entire segments will be reassembled to form the original data. So here the other responsibility of the transport layer is connection control. So the transport layer can be either connection oriented or connectionless. So in case of connection-less transport layer, each segment is treated as the independent packet and deliver it to the transport layer at the destination machine. Whereas in case of connection-oriented transport layer, the segments are delivered to the destination machine using three-way handshake. The three-way handshake includes three processes. That is, first connection is established, then after successful connection establishment data is transmitted, and then after transmission of all the means in the entire data, the connection is terminated. Okay, so now next responsibility of the transport layer is flow control. So we can see this flow control and error control. These are the two responsibilities which are also um, which are also available at the data link layer. So like the data link layer, transport layer is also responsible for flow control. But here this flow control is performed end to end rather than across a single link. Now coming to the next responsibility, that is the error control at the transport layer. Here, like the data link layer, transport layer is also providing the error control mechanism. Okay, so which is performed process to process rather than across a single link. The next responsibility is the congestion control. So this congestion in the network may occur if the load of the network is greater than the capacity of the network. So this transport layer tries to balance the load of the network and the capacity of the network by using the congestion control mechanism. Now we are moving to the next layer of the OSI model, which is session layer. So here we can see session layer is responsible for basically three responsibilities are there: dialog control, making sessions, and synchronization. So here we can see this session layer allows two systems to enter into a dialogue. It allows the communication between two systems either in half duplex mode or the full duplex mode. Next responsibility is making sessions. So here this layer establish, manage and terminate the session between two remote hosts. Now synchronization. The session layer allows a process to add checkpoints or the synchronization points to the stream of the data. So why these checkpoints are added? These checkpoints helps in resending of the data after a certain synchronization point in case of crash during the transmission. Here in this figure you can see data is getting received from the presentation layer and uh, it is getting forwarded to the transport layer. So here SYN are the example of synchronization point at the sender side as well as at the receiver side. So now the next layer is presentation layer. So presentation layer of the OSI model is responsible for conversion of data from one format to another format. The process running into system are usually exchanging the information in form of character strings, numbers, etc. But this information must be changed to bit stream format before the transmission. For this purpose, presentation layer uh, is responsible for interoperability between the different encoding methods used by different computers. The next responsibility is compression and expansion. Compression and expansion of the data. So here data compression reduces the number of bits contained in the original message, and this compression techniques used at the presentation layer is important in the transmission of multimedia such as text, audio and video. So compression is used at the sender side and the data will be expanded again at the receiver side. Means expansion of the data will be done at the receiver side. Now encryption and decryption. So presentation layer at the sender side transform the original information to some other form using the encryption methods to ensure the privacy of the data, and this data will be transported to the medium, and finally the transport this presentation layer at the receiver side will decrypt the data to make the original data set or the original message. So now we can see the next layer, that is the last layer of the OSI model, this application layer. So application is a layer is responsible for um, providing the services to the user. So it provides support for the services such as file transfer, mail, remote file access and transfer, shared database management, etc. So here in this figure we can see uh, user program. It may be human or the program. So here three types of services are shown. X.500 is the service for directory service. FTAM, it is the service for file transfer, file access and management, and XA00, that is message handling service. So this figure also shows the relationship between the presentation layer and application layer and how it is directly connected to the user. So we have discussed now we have discussed all 7 layers of the OSI model. Now we can see data at each layer. Means data is, because we have seen whenever data comes from upper layer to lower layer, so data is changed to some other format, we can say. Okay, so at each layer what nomenclature is used for the data is shown in this slide. So let's start with the lowest layer, that is the physical layer. So data in this layer is called as bits. If we move to the upper layer, next layer, that is the data link layer, here the data received from the network layer is divided in the form of frames. So data in this layer is known as frames. Now we move to the network layer. Here data received from the transport layer is called as packets. And we move to the next upper layer, that is the transport layer. So here data is divided in form of small chunks which are known as segments. In the upper 3 layers, so data stream is known as data itself. So now we'll solve a question uh, here itself. So the question is, at which OSI layer is the concept of port number introduced? So options are data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, and presentation layer. See, in this lecture itself we have discussed, see, transport layer provides the facility of process to process communication, and processes are running at a particular port in the system. So concept of port number is being used at the transport layer because process running